Hi everyone, hope you are all doing great. Not too long ago I was discussing famous INFJs according to the three subtypes. As you remember, the adaptive submissive INFJ, the solipsistic INFJ, and the spiritualized INFJ, also called liberated INFJ. My right ear is glowing. Can you see this? I don't know if this is an indication that I'm on the path toward liberation or spiritualization. Anyway, the sun is kind of shifting, so let me see if I can fix that. Maybe I can sort of, it will catch up with me, but anyway. So the list I have here, which is the list I was discussing so recently, well, you probably noticed that in my recent video, I kind of got excited by the potential research avenues that be opened up by this. So I wanted to kind of provide more commentary on what I think is relevant information that we can derive from this. So I did find some examples of famous adaptive submissive INFJs, solipsistic and spiritualized, knowing that it turned out to be difficult to find examples of adaptive submissive INFJs who were either not fictional or who were not sort of known to have been adaptive submissive, but in fact famous for achievements that were realized during a phase of their existential development pertaining rather to the spiritualized mode. And so one thing that immediately struck me when I was looking at this list as well is that you can sense that most of the characters and people in the adaptive submissive section can be defined as repressed. Armin Arlert, early Attack on Titan, repressed and anxious. Alyosha, repressed and anxious, early in the Brothers Karamazov. Akane Tsunemori from Psychopath, repressed, especially early on. Emily Dickinson, repressed. The INFJs that mistype as ISFJs, repressed, and so on. So repression seems to be the dominant trait of the adaptive submissive famous INFJs. And the solipsistic famous INFJs, so as you remember, all the INFJ philosophers basically fall into this list. Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, Spinoza, Schopenhauer, Wittgenstein. I also had Johann Liebert from who's the villain in the TV show Monster, the anime Monster and manga. And then Georges Bataille, the writer of the Story of the Eye, among other things, Georges Bataille, and William Blake, the English poet. Now, what I would say is that, with some exceptions, there's a strong current here of nihilism and pessimism. You see that in Kierkegaard, at least as regards pessimism. You see that in Schopenhauer in a big way, all right? You see that obviously in Johann Liebert and Georges Bataille. You don't necessarily see that, well, you see that in Nietzsche as well, but you don't necessarily see that in Spinoza, Wittgenstein, and William Blake. I think that with the cases of Spinoza, Wittgenstein, and William Blake, what we have is rather a sort of self-contained mysticism that is actually attained, but in separation from the rest of the world, right? So we're almost like hermit-like, secluded mysticism, right? It has in it, obviously, elements of spiritualization, but it's not channeled it's not channeled into the external reality by means of a practical project that would be translatable into that, form of engagement with external reality. So what seems to be lacking here is this ability to, and that's the concept of attunement as well, this ability to translate the NI vision and the NI world into a practical project for a lifetime. The spiritualized INFJs, the later Armin Arlert, the later Alyosha, Gandalf, Buddha, Jesus, Dale Cooper, Charles Taylor. Well, what distinguishes them actually, it's kind of interesting. So they're all these people basically are not nihilistic, and they're not even pessimistic. They're actually quite positive. They are positive about the change they can make in the world. And they bring real concrete change, right? With the exception of Charles Taylor, who's an academic and it would be a little bit of a more roundabout argument to substantiate the claim that he changed the world. But actually you could kind of make that claim, because he's been quite influential in many domains, including on the politics of Quebec, right? Who the sun is catching up with me. Hopefully that doesn't distract you too much, guys. So you sense that there is a certain sense of repression in the category of adaptive submission, a desire to go somewhere but not really finding the resources to do that, at least, you know, for a duration of time, perhaps forever. A certain sense of pessimism and or nihilism and or possible but more rare self-contained mysticism in the solipsists, and more positive affirmation of self and the world, and the attunement between self and world in the spiritualized INFJs. So this would, you know, this would sort of square with what I discuss in the Infinite Soul and what I think makes the most sense. But it's interesting to see that. There's another thing that I will want to explore at some point, because it's not clear to me anymore. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it's trying to battle with the sun. It's not clear to me anymore, on the basis of these notes, that there is a necessary movement from adaptive submission to solipsism to spiritualization or liberation. That is definitely a movement, and it would be like a nice Hegelian framework to you know, articulate the whole mechanism. However, it's clear that Alyosha does not go through solipsism when he becomes spiritualized. He moves from adaptive submission to spiritualization. Armin does not go through solipsism either. There are possible examples of, there are actually, I think, very real examples of INFJs who go through the phases, like I delineated them in previous videos and research. I think you could make that argument. You'd have to agree that, say, someone like Al-Razali and the Prophet Muhammad, like, if, I know there's huge debate, and I have Muslim followers, there's huge debate about whether these guys are INFJ, if you hypothesize, just by means of hypothesis, that these were INFJs, then a case could strongly be made that they moved from adaptiveness to solipsism, hermit-like solipsism, to spiritualization. And I could discuss that more in the future if you would be interested. That's for my thoughts. I've been contending with the elements in this video, guys. I hope you didn't find that too annoying. Don't forget that I have written a book on the INFJ recently called The Infinite Soul. This is a book on how INFJs interact with external reality that is often felt as hostile, and how they can find meaning, purpose, and value in this world. The link is down below if you're interested in checking that out. And it is the sequel to its prequel, of course, and you can see that there's a thematic resemblance in the book covers. The Ecstatic Soul, which is more of a look at the inside of the INFJ mind and its existential manifestation. So INFJ consciousness through the Ecstatic Soul, and how this INFJ consciousness finds goals and values and can find ultimately happiness despite obstacles in external reality with the Infinite Soul. The lifeblood of my channel is my Patreon page, guys. So if you would like to provide support to my channel, you can do that at the link below. There's a link to my Patreon page. I encourage you to do that via your laptop rather than the iOS app, because Apple is now taking an extra 30% fee on that. So it would make it more expensive for you. So $3.50 a month or more via computers. It really helps me to keep the channel going, and I released a bonus content video today, in fact. There you can interact with me. We have a community there that's growing. Principally, you support my work and you help me keep producing quality content for this channel. Consider it, and I will talk to you next time, guys. Bye bye.